Testing, testing. Okay, welcome to Programming Rainbow. In this video, I'm just going to be continuing some work on this shell game, the bash to SDL2 bridge that I've been working on. So if anybody has any questions, they can just ask me or whatever, and I will just be coding and listening to some music. I didn't put it in the video this time because last time I thought it wasn't in the video, but the music ended up in the video anyway, which you're not supposed to do. So that was never my intention. So yeah, if you'd like to check out the project, you can go to github.com, Programming Rainbow, and this is called ShellGame SDL2. You can get clone this repository. You do need to build the actual ShellGame server. There is instructions on Arch Linux and macOS. It's pretty simple. You're just building the little server thing, and then from then on, you can just use your bash or ZSH scripts to make games in bash or ZSH. And there's some examples here. And also when you downloaded this repo, there are examples in the examples folder. And you can run them directly from the top level. You just call by default, they will run as bash. But if you just use the word bash or ZSH in the front, when you call them, it'll run as that. And yeah. So I will just be working on this. And if anybody is asking questions, then I'll turn my mic on. Okay. if anybody's wondering what I'm doing, I have an issue. Basically, to like fake this bubble thing, I create a surface and I use a circle algorithm to stamp that surface as the background color around in a circle to make this bubble thing. And then I center stamp it with the center color of the same text. So I have two different texts basically. And if I want transparency, it doesn't work this way because I'm stamping a bunch of things on top of each other. What I'm doing is I'm adding the transparency to the texture itself after I've finished drawing this whole surface, converted it. The colors, making them transparency to apply to the actual texture's transparency. So I can get a transparent text. Yeah. So basically, I have to remove it from the color. The user doing that they're putting it in as the color option, not transparency, but so yeah. So that this may be sent in with a color, but if I not in here, but in the text, if I were to create my extra text surface with the transparency and the color, and then I'm stamping it on a circle, I'm not going to get the transparency I think I'm getting. And then if I also apply it to the texture, it's wrong. So I'm just applying it one place. So down here, after I make the texture, I'm setting the texture alpha mod to the transparency between 0 and 255 in the final. So if anybody's wondering what I'm doing with these colors, it's because I'm trying to get the final, like, what did I say? Oh, it's up above. Setting it to 128, which is half 50%. Okay. I need to add in that one to it, but I hate Twitch way that they do it. No option. Option. Why is there just a click to reply? That doesn't sound like what I'm looking for. Hopefully. Anyway, So yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make it where if you're doing a normal text, whatever, if you apply, if you give forth, I wanted to apply, removing it from applying text, I'm actually applying texture. I'm applying the alpha to the texture. If you do a bubble text, like let's check that out here. So it would be right here. Let's change this text to a bubble. So if it's a bubble, this is not going to apply to anything now. The color still applies, but the output, I think there should be no all now. So the outer color by default is go just add in that the white, and then we want it transparent. That should apply. And I need to set colors, not color. That allows me to set. And now these should be transparent, and it's the whole image that's transparent. More transparent. Okay, that's pretty transparent right there. Start it. I don't know why the low. Okay, I'm gonna restart the stream real quick. It shouldn't affect the you guys. You guys should still see it the same, but let me just try. Okay, the stream looks smoother now. I don't know why it was like very low frame rate. Quit. I don't know what Twitch is doing. Okay, Twitch looks okay too now, although I don't know to everybody out. So if we go right up next to 255, see now. Yeah, and like I said, now I'm gonna go back to listening. Maybe what I could do is right now it's set up for red, green, blue, alpha. And if it's colors, and so these are the options. basically, that I've implemented. So if we have one color, if you're dealing with just one color, you can do this or this. You can do 3 colors, no alpha, or you can add an alpha. Look for either 3 colors added or 4 colors. And if you're doing inner and the outer, so we're calling colors, not color, then it's going to do this. So you have 6 colors, 3 inner, 3 outer, or 8 colors. And maybe that's a bit confusing. Maybe what I should have it do is you can do 3 colors or 4, or 6 or 7, not 8. So as in, there's just one alpha. That seems like it's less confusing, but also it still might be confusing because basically what happens when I have 8, I'm ignoring this alpha and I'm only using this alpha, the last one. So 4 colors, 6 colors, or 8 colors. I could do 3, 6, or 7. So the last number is always 4 or the 7. The last number is always the alpha. And if it's a 3 or a 6, there is no alpha. It's solid. So that would make more sense because this color is not used right here. This alpha blend right here is not used. So I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'll just do it that way. So yeah, what I'm going to do is just completely ignore the SDL color, always create. Give inner and outer color 3 RGB and another set of RGB, and finally all looks like it's working good. Now it's just using one. However, I wasn't able to make FPS show up on the screen. So, and if I press F, and I believe the reason for this is that FPS has a 0 because I never set a color. So alpha basically by default is 0. So let's here, let's just make right here. I I set the inner color on a text, and I just set the alpha. And then on the bubble text as well, I do the inverse. And this will be 255. Well, default, and let's see if that fixes it. Press F, and now we got to our F. So it was always there. It was transparent completely. So this is bugging me. When I start a window, I tell it to be centered, right? But when you tell it you want the window to be you're actually centered, still has already. So when you tell it a size that's other than 800 by 600, which is the default size, then it's no longer centered. Watch. I'll show you what I mean. So open this up. This window is not, should be over here because the original smaller window was centered, but this is not centered. So basically, I need to recenter it. Yeah. So when I resize it, this game resize right here. Yeah. So I can still use the original. This guy right over here that is not explained in the documentation. See if that sorts it. Now it's centered, yeah. Okay. And that's revoid. Yeah, it's a void. The logical size, is that also? Yeah.
ZSH 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 ZSH
Hello, how's it going? Sure. Ready. Yeah, it should be on now. Testing, 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 testing. Oh, hello. This mic is dodgy. Yeah, should be on now. I was just updating documentation and stuff. Let's see here. I moved this setting scaling from to the render now. And yeah, wrong. Paste. There we go. So this is a renderer. And there's also options. Nearest linear end. And I don't remember what it's called. Back to that. This is the render scaling. It's not integer scale. Not called scaling either. See, render. Not this. Not or scale, logical scale. Oh no, that's right. Okay, where's all the render? Rectangle, present, scale? It's not set scale. Oh, you know what it is? It's a hint, or it's set specifically on the. Oh, it might be here. Yeah, okay. So, scale mode. So best is the N, this one, whatever it's called. Here. That's yeah, whatever. That's good enough. It's nearest linear and I don't know what it. I can't. Okay, so what else did we do? That was moved to render. So we have these. Oh, we also have the integer scaling enabled and disabled. So that would be the. How do I put the put comma separated? Okay. Scaling, I think is what I called it. Integer scaling. Int scale. Okay. Table. Table. Disabled or disabled? Disabled. So what is this going to be called in here? This will be render and scale. Oh my God, what's it called? It's not this one. It's the integer scaling. Logical. Get back here. Integer scale, this one. So this one enables the integer scaling. That's all it's called. So, okay, so it's a stepping. Set. Scaling. Go. Scale, say, scale render. Scales render by step. Something like that. Scales render by integer steps. It just makes the it can't go like as you make the window bigger, when you have enough room to make it double size, then it finally scales it up. It doesn't scale in between. That's enabled. So that's clear, present, and scaling. I've already done this one, and now we can set the color. So I thought I had that on here before, but I guess I didn't. So let's grab that guy, both of them. All right, so this just sets the color of the renderer. Sets the render draw color. How about that? Sets the render draw. Now, is it called renderer or render? It's always different on this. Go back to render. Color. Get render draw color. So I think it's just render. Set render draw color. Set render draw. Yeah. So it sets the render draw color. That'll work. The render draw color. Given value. Yeah, I think that's everything for the render. Now we have to remove something from the or I may have already done that. This guy right here is not right. ShellGame image scaling style. I could leave it there. I might leave that there too because it kind of explains how image is scaling. So, but I need to change it to render. And we need all three. New. We'll just leave that there. So that takes care of that. Now we've got a bunch of new stuff here. That's the same. That's the same. Set size is the same. We have a scale now. So we can set the scale separately. We can make it resizable. We can make it full screen in two different ways. I might remove this toggle. Maybe not. FPS window, these are all the same. So full screen has changed. Resizable is there now. Scale is there. These are new. These are all on the window. Okay, so resize. There's the scale, yeah. We already had enable. Okay, so we only need to add desktop. Enable. Enables full screen mode without changing monitor display solution. Okay, so that is dealing with the full screens. Toggle is still there. These guys. So now we got the scaling. Set SG scale, and that's a float. That's the what do we call this? We call this the multiple of the so we have to think differently. So this doesn't set the window dimension. This sets the render dimension. Sets the window's dimensions using width and height scale factor. Yeah. Okay, so this one sets the sail. Sets the scale factor. That's not really explaining it very well. It's the render. It's the logical factor from logical render to window size. That's probably not very clear. So that's the scale. Okay, so we also, the resizable is on the window. So this could be just one line here. Stable. Enable, disable, resizable window. I don't know. Pretty poor. I will say it keeps the keeping logical render aspect ratio. Am I trying to do that? Yeah. So that's probably that, but then we changed a bunch on this. Yeah, changed on the tab. Ugh. Okay. So we added a new bubble text. This is new right here. Okay, so where's the I keep trying to use neovim commands in here. That's not going to work. The new text. Yeah. Got two places here. Isn't documentation fun? I have to put something up there and nobody will know how it's meant to be used. See here, it's over. So we have the new bubble one, which is just a variation. So we'll use this. We have a whole thing where we changed how the color works as well. But we only changed how the color works on the text. So do we even creates a new bubble text object with font size, radius, and string. Yes, we'll just copy that and we'll use it in the other location. Down here. Okay, so is this all the stuff? This is the color stuff. So sets color for the text object with an optional alpha. That's still the same. But now we have this, we can, okay, what we got here? This is the original, draw is the same, update, yes, that's all the same, set string is the same, set font, set color, and then we have set colors. This is going to be, I'm going to have to change the way this is named because it's so long. Set color. We'll say center and outer. So it'll be C, 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 and then O, because it is too much. We can do that version, or we can do the same version basically, but with an alpha. Yeah. Yeah. A there, something, I don't know. Okay, so So sets color of a text object, sets the outer and sets the inner and outer color of a bubble object. This guy, that there. So, and this is called colors. Yeah, okay. So color and colors. So we also have that stuff where we're enabling and disabling. So we have outer color, position, angle, flip size. Lots of stuff going on there. We don't need any of that. I know it's here. Where's the like enable, disable of the bubble thing? Maybe I didn't document it in the source. Yeah, I don't see it here. Okay, check it out. That's the worst. If I haven't put it in here, then it's harder to see too. So that's the quit option, title string on. Sizable, enabled desktop, disabled, toggle. Okay, that looks like I didn't miss anything. Hopefully in the render I didn't miss anything. Looks pretty good. So clearly in text something's up. Did I not enable disable? Oh, maybe I didn't implement that yet, and that's why it's not there. Well, that makes sense then. I haven't made it where you could just enable or disable any text. It's really just a bool. Okay, so we just need to set. Just need a set. Up here, we can set a string. We have up to 3. We could set font, ID, blah, blah. Yeah, this will work. So this will be bubble. Oh, we should wrap this. We should do all the IDs. So, man, I don't know why I didn't do the above one as a looped. I could have wrapped this one too. No, what happened was so let me show you something. So I don't know how to stream. So So I've been fighting to try to learn how to do this for a long time. Let's just open this up and I'll show you what I'm up to. So I was using this Go Live script, which is a very overly complicated FFmpeg script to stream. And it actually sources a couple other files in a different spot. So I have this config here that's just a whole bunch of different variables and stuff. I also have another file called stream keys, which I'm not going to show you. Those are my stream keys. But like this is doing all kinds of stuff. This is dealing with the audio, with the de-essing, denoising, compression, expansion, mixing audio sources and all that stuff. And the other one is kind of putting it together, right? So I was getting very bad video, like because I don't want to use OBS because I'm stubborn. I don't want to learn OBS. I just wanted to use FFmpeg, and I can do it from anywhere. So I was doing this as a one shot, using TE, not this dual thing, but it was the audio was not time stamped because of the audio was needing more processing than the video, and I didn't know how to make sure it was like the same. So I was trying to decouple them. So this was one of the attempts to decouple them, to run FFmpeg twice, one with the audio, and this one I'm outputting it to UDP and then recapturing it from the UDP just to decouple it. I've since figured out I didn't need to do that. But the other issue I was having was with this TE. When I was sending it out to multiple places, it was basically the video would be very choppy. And even though I was streaming at a 30 or 60, when I would show my gameplay, it would be like 5 or 10 frames a second. And it had nothing to do with the video, but for some reason it would just be, So I always keep coming back and fighting it and working on it and everything else. And let's see here. So what I'm using right now is this guy. I haven't gone through and used all those variables again because I'm literally just trying to figure everything out, throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks, basically. And so I put the audio up above the video, and I think that sorted the audio video syncing issues. And I've added thread queue, and I've also changed it to be single threaded somewhere. Where is it? The thread is only one, and I think that helps with the rubber banding and stuff. But up here, so here's the other thing is the video quality versus the size. So I was using this right here. No, I wasn't. Sorry. Go back. So I was using this constant quality, and I was using 20, which is really nice on it captures the text, and it gives you really nice compression because like the video file is not very big at all, but the text looks really nice. The problem is when I have anything moving on the screen, the bit rate explodes. It goes up really like it's so what basically it's saying, I always want my screen, the quality of the video to be the same. So when it's looking at a static screen, it can take one snapshot of it and nothing has changed. It just keeps using the same information. And but when something's moving on the screen, it doesn't want to compress it. It wants to make it the same quality. So every time it's moving, that is now way more bit rate, way higher. So I don't know if it was happening on my end or I think it was happening maybe just the way FF was sending to YouTube, or YouTube couldn't handle it, but it was like ballooning the bit rate. So it'd be really small bit rate, and it would even say I was under doing the bit rate. My bit rate was too small, even though the quality looked good. But the second I had something moving on the screen, it would blow it up, and it basically would knock me offline. Even though I was still capturing locally, the other ones would get knocked off. So what I've done is I've switched it to variable bit rate. I don't like variable bit rate because I want to control the quality of the video. So I wish I could do constant quality, but with a ceiling, you know what I mean? Where when it's on the lower end, when it's a static image, constant quality is king. But when it's moving images, then variable bitrate. But when you get back to a constant image, the variable bitrate is the file size is much bigger, right? So if I'm looking at a static screen like this, nothing's happening. I put it on constant. My quality will look really nice, and my file size will be really small. If I put on variable bitrate for the same quality, my file size might be 3 or 4 times the size. But the second I start moving anything on the screen with the constant quality, the file size and the bitrate explodes. It gets really big because it's always trying to give me crisp video all the time. Whereas the variable bitrate will compress and looks pixelated, but it'll keep it into a range. No, it was nothing. There was nothing wrong with my system. I was still capturing in FFmpeg and everything else locally. It just threw the both YouTube and the other one offline. And I don't know if it's because YouTube capturing, it was like suddenly it was trying to send like 20,000 or whatever, the information I was trying to send suddenly extremely changed. And I don't know if that was overrunning buffer in FFmpeg or if YouTube or what couldn't handle it. I have no idea. I just know that I wanted to use this constant quality. Right. And so basically, if you have moving images, variable bitrate is really the one you want to use. But since I'm using text all the time, I want this text to look as crisp as I could possibly do it through all of this compression and stuff like that. And I don't want any artifacts. But when I put that thing up on the screen where all the texts are moving around really quick, it's trying to make all of that perfect. It's trying to make it all look perfect and crisp, and suddenly the bit rate of that video stream goes huge. And so that's what it was. It was nothing was happening on my system, but like the stream just gets knocked out. So let me revert this back for one, so I don't forget where I'm at. But let me show you what I'm talking about. So where is it? Oops. So here, I was doing the text one or something like that. So text. Oh, did I not? I just pushed to the GitHub, so I cleared the build. So all these images moving around, they're all like vastly different colors, and they're very sharp, very contrasting colors, and they're moving really fast. And if you see it now, you'll probably see it pixelated. Like the image quality will drop, and it'll look a little bit muddy moving around. But since I was using like the constant quality, it was trying to make that picture look perfect as it was moving around. So when you're doing a static image, constant quality is amazing because it's like if the image hasn't changed, it just keeps re-referencing the old image that hasn't changed, and it's fine. And whatever things have changed, it updates. But when the entire screen is moving around really fast and updating every single frame, you got a problem. Yeah, I'm in Scotland. Is is GMT even the correct time right now? Hold on. Yeah, it is. Because there's like that BST. I always get confused. The time just changed a couple days ago, so I guess BST and GMT are the same time now again or something, which is really confusing. Give me 1 second. I got to plug in my monitor laptop before it dies. From the accent. What accent? Haggis. Are you in what would you say, Portugal? Are you in Portugal? Do they have so it seems like Argentina is always popping up, like South America, so it keeps popping. Is it Argentina or yeah? With the kind of like the tech stuff, I think Lewis from there and everything else. And I'm wondering if that's because I know Portugal's not Argentina. You know, I don't think I'm getting confused here, but that's just reminded me. I kept Argentina kept popping up, and I was kind of wondering if it was Brazil. Sorry, and I was wondering if it was because I think there was a push for the schools to use Linux a couple years back. But I know all the schools are not like standardized. Like there's like private ones there and non-private or whatever. But I was wondering if the kids using, not just using some parasitic off the shelf lockdown system, but actually something where they had to use their brain to use it and stuff, caused like more of the children in school and later on the people in college and stuff to be more technically savvy and making games and programming, because it does seem to be, yeah, there does seem to be yeah, it's probably Brazil I was thinking about, not Argentina, but there does seem to be a lot of like I keep watching like hold on, let me, where is it, my browser. So I'm always watching like like nerdy stuff, obviously, because that's, but like so I watch a lot of the Wu Cash podcast, and it seems like he's got quite a few people like this dude. Where's he from? He seemed to have some kind of, we couldn't figure out. My partner was asking if he's Italian, and I was like, I think he's from South America. From his accent, it's kind of it's some, like, you can't tell, some Latin, but I don't want to play it because I don't own the thing. But it seems like there is a surprising percentage of like different programmers and coders and stuff coming from South America. Yeah, but I see I keep coming across it quite a lot. You know what I mean? Like there are quite a decent number, and I was just kind of wondering if there's a link between like, hey, let's let the kids use something in school, but actually there's a side benefit of like the kids become more tech savvy. You know what I mean? Like if you give your kids like iPhones, they're not going to get smarter. Like that's a dumbed down system. They're going to be dumb as a rock. But if you give them something that's like has 15,000 different settings and they have to do it themselves, they might be like, well, why can't I do this thing myself? Why can't I program or make this? Yeah, because it seemed like there was it seems like South America pops up in like a non-proportional amount of times for how many people are there versus how much I see it popping up in like coding and videos and stuff. I don't know what the scene is like in Portugal. It seems in the UK non-existent. Like I was in Oxford before Scotland, and Oxford is supposed to be a college school, and I never met in 20 years another person who could program. And you would not know that there's anything there, anything that's technical whatsoever. I saw the colleges, like the insides of the colleges, and they look like some medieval, dark, dank places where no learning is happening whatsoever. I think people just go there for rubber stamped names on their college. Like they come, like foreigners will come and it pads out their resume to make it look like they've done something. Oh wow! So what they're doing in so you're in Portuguese. I'm not sure if you know this or not, but like because this seems to be like a secret thing or something. But do you know that like Google, Microsoft, and Facebook and all of these companies operate like absolutely illegally in the United Kingdom and in the EU? Like they collect data that the user is not allowed to see, that they hold data on the user that they're not allowed to see, and the user cannot get the data that they're holding on them, and cannot erase the data that they're holding on them, which is illegal. Like it's illegal in all of them, even though the UK is technically slightly different laws than the EU. It's like illegal all over the EU, no matter what country. Yeah, so there's like several, like there's a whole bunch of different laws involved, but like the one that everybody always talks about is the GDPR. Um, what is this? I don't want to customize anything. I hate you, Google. Go away. So there's this, and when you start diving into it, basically there's supposed to be rights. There's rights on like somebody can't just take your information without your consent, which is wild because every company does it, right? And it in its law in every country in the EU. So then it started being was it Norway or something actually made, yeah. Um one of them had to call out Google specifically and say that the Google Chromebooks that were made specifically to harvest children's data were illegal to be used in their country, right? They had to call out Google specifically and say that, and kick off the whole country from that platform. But the problem is it's not illegal there; it's illegal everywhere. There's not a special law there. It's all over the EU. It's the same law everywhere. What was it? I forgot. It's like Norway or somewhere. Denmark. Okay, so but it's not specific to this country. The reason why it's illegal is because it collects your data. Okay, it collects the children's data, and under GDPR, children have more rights than adults. So when your child goes to school, the school cannot collect data about your child without your consent and your child's consent. It needs both guardians. If you have two or more guardians or whatever, like there's different structures that that you might have grandparents installed, whatever legally the amount of guardians a child has, you have to get the consent from all of them, not from one. You can't have the consent from one parent and another parent disagrees. You must get the consent of everybody, must agree, and then the child must agree. The child can override all of them. So if you get consent from the parents when the child is like, no, I don't like this, you have to like say no, right? So the problem with this is they completely ignore this. Okay, there's the consent of the child is ignored, and it's also required that schools and companies and everything else, they have to tell the people their rights. They have to tell the children their rights. They have to tell them what they want to get, and they have to tell them what's going on, and they can't use their position as a like if you were the boss or if you're the head of the company, you're not allowed to use your position as coercion to get consent. They just say no, and as fast as you can give consent, it has to be repealed. The consent has to repeal. This is all GDPR everywhere. And also, anybody who's collecting data on you, you have to ask, if you ask for that data, it has to be given to you in a timely manner. Like all the data they're holding on you has to be handed over to you so they can see what you're, right? So in Oxford, right, all the schools are using Chromebooks, okay? Now, Chromebooks are specifically made to attack children. Google had needed to be exploiting children, right? But usually when you try to go after children, you're going to get stopped. So what they did is they went through the schools and they said, we're going to give you tools to like harass the children. And so they love it. Right. So and like the UK government was always caught breaking the laws and everything, breaking their own laws and stuff like that. So the government has been, here has been really terrible, but it's been like, they want everybody's data. They want to know where everybody is. But then they put these Chromebooks on the children, and the Chromebooks on the children spy on the kids. Okay, the child has no rights over the Chromebook. The parents have no rights over the Chromebook. They have no, what do you call it? They don't have administrative privilege on the computer that they own. So we had a Chromebook. My partner bought it, and she didn't understand that we were not supposed to buy it because I was like, no, we're not using that. And so she bought it anyway. So I could not let my son go to school with this Chromebook because we don't have administrative rights on it. And that is also under a separate law in the UK illegal. You cannot install software on a computer and ask somebody else to use it. If you're at a school or if you're at a business, you cannot put software without their consent on it. You also don't get administrative rights over somebody else's computer. So they were having everybody buy Chromebooks, and then they take control of the Chromebook. The users have no control over it. They can't change any settings. They can't turn anything on or off. They can't use the Chromebook for anything. It's e-waste. But what the Chromebook does do is it tracks their movement. And it's 24 hours a day. So when they take the Chromebook home, even if they were to only use it for schoolwork at home, it's collecting data on your house and your other devices that are connected to the network, right? And it has position tracking and everything else in it. It also can just like turn the camera on and off, like like the insanity of it. And the problem with it is the UK was taking the data from the children. They were taking screenshots and capturing any text that was inputted. They would capture all text. They would anything that was like being displayed on the screen would be captured. And they were using it to train AI models, which is like without consent. And they were also using it with AI models adversarially to see if the children were doing anything that they didn't like being done. So you had this instance where they are capturing all data from the children. They didn't tell the children anything about this. They didn't tell the adults anything about this. Adults go along with the school because the school thinks it's doing, the parents think that the school is doing the right thing. They don't know what's going on. The school is trying to spy on all the kids all the time. There's no discussion with the children. They're not asking for any access. They're just taking. They're taking this data. They're sharing it with the government. They're sharing it with the police department. And then they're also sending it to the United States to a private company that reads all the children's data. And this private company has 4 different Chinese angel investors. They're investment companies, right? That are Chinese-based investment companies. So when your child has one of these Chromebooks, the government's involved. Just without thinking about what websites and other stuff going on. You have the UK government, you have the US government, and you have the Chinese government, because any company that is a Chinese-owned company must share the data with the Chinese government, because for national security purposes, there's like 3 different laws in China. So when you have this Chromebook, they're capturing every bit of text and everything the child looks at. They're capturing the location. They're capturing the Wi-Fi, everything else. They're sending it to like private companies and foreign governments without any consent. They're taking screenshots. They're taking, if your child has the camera open by themselves, they're taking that, but also it can open the camera as well. And all of this is wildly illegal. Like this is explicitly illegal. There's like you're not allowed to install software. That is the Computer Misuse Act. you're not in the UK, you're not allowed to install viruses or malicious software. That's software that does something that the end user doesn't want it to do, you know, which is the what do you call it? The securely software that they were using is a spyware. You're not allowed to sell to specifically to install spyware in the United Kingdom. That is also illegal. It's also illegal separately to install spyware on children's equipment. Yeah. And the school would send me pictures telling me my child was like late to school, and it would be a picture of another child, not my child. And that picture would be a picture at an angle that was taken below his head. And I was like, where did they get this picture of this child? Who is this child? And how did they get this? It's like an illicit picture. The kid is not looking at the camera. It's like the camera from their Chromebook if they were standing up next to their Chromebook. So they had flipped on his thing and took a picture of him and sent me some random child's picture. It's just insane, right? So I never sent my child to school with this Chromebook. And when I asked, like, this stuff is illegal, right? How are you doing this? How are you getting away with this? Initially, they act shocked, and then they never replied back. And then finally, the head of his year, it was like, what, year 6 or 7 at the time, she was on the phone, and her first argument was she's not British and she doesn't know anything about it. And I was like, but you're here, you work for the school, you are the head of the year. You have to know this. This is your required job. And after like an hour of talking to her, she admitted she did know what GDPR was after she had been saying she'd never heard of it for like the hour beforehand. And then she admitted she knew what they were doing was illegal. And it was so insane for her to tell me this. I had to have her repeat it 4 times. I was like, this, you understand this is illegal. She's like, yes, but we're doing it anyway. And this is child abuse, right? So like, this is like against the law, against the children, against the parents. This is all done illicitly. And the person who is pushing these Chromebooks on the schools run under a what is it called? It's like River. What is it called? There is this nonprofit. It's not called a nonprofit. It's called like a Little River. Let's see if we can get. And when I sent an email asking about all this stuff, I didn't get any reply back like, oh, it's, I understand you're concerned about, no, nothing like that. I got like a mafia style, like, what's your full name, please? And that was it from the head teacher, just like a threat. And my email was like very long, and I was just asking, I was like, this can't be real. You guys are really trying to do these things. And I was like giving them links to the government right sites, and like it was insane. Let's see. They had this whole thing. They're like, we are a Chromebook school, but this is under the there's an overarching thing. River Learning Trust. Okay, so River Learning Trust controls all the schools in Oxford. They make sure they don't give Chromebooks. The parents buy the Chromebooks, even though the parents have zero control over the Chromebooks. I mean, you do not have the ability to change anything on the Chromebook. It is locked down. Google made it where it's being controlled by the school, and you can't do anything. Okay. So this person, the person that leads this up, the president of this, who's in charge of this? This guy right here. This guy right here, okay, that controls all the Oxford schools. It's supposed to be some nonprofit thing. He makes more than the prime minister. His job is to get Chromebooks in the hands of kids, and he makes more than the prime minister, right? Where is he? Paul James. So it says 65 here. I think there's like two different pay things. I had this whole thing. I had a bunch of information before on this. It was driving me crazy. Anyway, they also put cameras in the schools, right? And it's illegal in the United Kingdom to take what do you call this? What do you call this data? There's a name for this type of data when it's about your physical or mental state, your physical aspects. There's a 2016 law on this. It's not metadata, it's something. So here's the thing on the news about this, like using facial recognition, right? The problem is this is illegal. I want to know what's the name of it. The ICO, the government had to tell the schools that this is illegal. Well, Cheney was doing this as well, the Oxford school, and they put a little thing like you had to you were supposed to consent to this, right? And I didn't consent to this. Because why would I do that? I don't want some. It's not that the school is doing the facial recognition on my child. It's that this is a third party company that data now goes and you don't know where it goes and you don't know who's being trained on. And my son doesn't need to know how that stuff works and doesn't need to accept this. This is insanity, right? This is like, no, this is being used as training data somewhere else. So the whole thing is like the data, once it's out, it's gone, and they can't just say, "Oh, it's just being used in this one place," because no, it's used as a set for training somewhere else, right? So anyway, so this is the ICO, the U.S. government or the UK government is explaining to the schools that what they're doing here is illegal, right? So Cheney was doing this, and there was a consent form. Well, we never consented to it, and I sent them several emails explicitly saying I would never consent to this. So of course they were doing it, right? So they were doing it, and I was asking my son, how are you paying for school lunch, right? And he's like, there's like a camera, and I'm like, no, there's no, because it's like illegal. Yeah, what is it? What is it? It's called God, I wish I could think of the thing, what it's called here. This is not just GDPR. This is a different level of illegal. This is specifically a law about schools and children. This is not data collection. This is specifically about like your actual picture of your face and your physical. Come on, what? How is it not saying it anywhere in here? I'm gonna have to ask a chatbot. Where's the chatbot? Might not be 2016. That might be GDPR. Protection of Freedom Acts, 2012. But what's it called? What's it called? No. Biometric data. That's what I was looking for. It's biometric data. So it's illegal specifically in the UK for collecting biometric data on children. Schools were doing that, and there was a court case about it, and it was changed. Okay, so like you cannot collect biometric data on children in schools without explicit permission, and you need it from the child and the parent. Okay, so they were doing this. So Cheney was collecting biometric data on my child the entire time. We asked them not to do it; they were still doing it. And finally, there were after several emails of telling them we'd never consent to it, I said, "Are you guys doing this?" And they quietly gave him a card. And then the principal sent an email saying that they were never doing this, and the card was a way to have an alternative means of payment. Okay, that does not excuse the collection of biometric data. The payment was never the problem. The payment method was never the problem. You're not allowed to collect biometric data. So, of course, what they were doing after 6 months after they were already doing this the whole time, and then they silently gave him this card 6 months later. With that card in hand, they are still collecting the biometric data because the camera's still on. It's nothing about the card. It's the camera. Is there a camera on? Is it collecting your child's face? Is it collecting everybody's child's face? Did anybody ask the children? So they were still doing this the entire time. However, when we go back to the Chromebooks collect biometric data. Biometric data is photos. It is physical features, things that identify you singularly, and it is also your mental health, mental well-being, and personality are considered biometric data. And Google's Chromebooks specifically, and the collect this, but also the Chinese-owned company that they were using to monitor the children, the securely software, it specifically says it uses AI models and people for biometric data about their mental health and well-being, their personality traits. These are all illegal to capture without the consent of the child and the parents. So yeah, basically, I had to not send me to school with a Chromebook, and it makes it look like I'm some kind of like caveman that doesn't want my child to have technology or something like that. And it's not about that at all. I sent him to school with a Linux machine, an old HP that had Linux on it. Yeah, go ahead. And they didn't want to do that. They didn't want that. They were like, "Oh, we don't know how that can't connect to the network." And I'm like, "Yeah, it can. What stops it from connecting? Your computers connect. All the other classes above could connect with anything." But specifically starting in his year forward, they were trying to force everybody to use Chromebooks. So she was trying to say, "Oh, it physically can't connect." And I'm like, yeah, it can. It's just you don't have administrative privilege on it. And I told them they would never have administrative privilege on any device that I sent my child to school with. So he never went to school with a computer. So in Scotland, they're not doing that yet, I guess. So that's nice. But all children in Oxford are doing this. This is illegal for all of them. The parents don't know what's going on. Some parents do. And I feel like any parent that does know what's going on is breaking the law and has, like, what do you call this? Is not fit to be a parent anymore because they're ignoring the rights of their child, which are serious because this stuff being done now, we'll see the repercussions of it in 10 years or 20 years when these children are banned from getting jobs because they have certain traits that were collected when they were children or something like that. There's already some of this happening in the US where certain people can't get a job anywhere because they're doing a psychological test on them, which is illegal to do a psychological test on somebody before giving them a job, but they call it something else even though it is a psychological test, and then they can't get a job anywhere. There's like documentaries on this about a guy whose son committed suicide because he couldn't get a job anywhere because every place used the same test. So when you can't get a job one place, you can't get a job anywhere. And I just don't like there shouldn't be any of this happening, right? But there is a sole reason why the UK government and most other European governments haven't stopped this from happening. It's because they're in on the data. Even though it's illegal and they're not supposed to be doing it, they want that data. So they're going to let private industry capture that data so they too can, like all data captured in the UK belongs to the UK government. There is no, there is no, like there was a whole thing with Apple where they were not allowed to have encryption because they don't share it with the UK government then. So that there's no, like everything is for the government here. Everything through the ISP, everything. So that's why they're happy to do these illegal things because they are also eating that data. Yeah, they implied but it's crazy. Like if you're in the EU, the GDPR alone is for you, but there's also there's some UN laws on like children being spied on children and everything else, and UN laws don't apply to everybody, but or I can't remember if it's a UN or EU law now. I think it's a UN thing, which those are not like real laws applied. However, the UK did implement laws about not being able to spy on children, not be able to put spyware on children, not doing things without children's consent, and there ends up being like 5 different laws. But GDPR is a very broad law in itself, and they just ignored every single part of it to where this like you're giving these children Chromebooks that can turn on their camera randomly and take pictures of the people. And I'm like, in the most innocent way that you could do this, kids use screens as mirrors. They hold up phones and they hold up laptops as mirrors, so they don't have to look in the mirror to see what they look like. They could be getting dressed or whatever. They could be dating somebody else. So there is what would be normal for a kid to show another child is not okay for some person in the US or in some other country looking at the data of a child from the UK. It's not like appropriate. None of that's appropriate. And then if the children do know that they're being spied on, then they're going to change the way they act because they're operating in an environment that is adversarial. So then that's causing other mental health problems, stuff like that too. So it's like this stuff is crazy. It's all crazy. Yeah. So I lost a lot of sleep about this stuff. Like I didn't want any part of that. Yeah. So yeah, I live in Linux land anyway, so like I'm already not using Windows. But my son does have a MacBook, and I always like think about how bad or not bad that is, But at least it's our MacBook and not a MacBook that is being controlled by a third party that is then sharing that with whoever else, like it's not a perfect situation, but at least it's like I get to make some decisions. If I learn something or I decide something is different, I can change a setting on that or have him change a setting on it. Whereas these Chromebooks, they're whenever you look at an ad, right? Whenever you see an ad anywhere, there has been a real time. There was before that ad was shown to you, there was an auction that happened, a high speed auction that happens based on your data, right? So somebody wants to show you an ad. There's a real-time auction that happens before the ad ever even loads onto a page. And the great thing about that auction is there's information about you that is traded in that auction. So there's a bunch of people that take part in that auction that never want to show you an ad. They just are sipping data from that auction, and you can get people's location, everything else, right? So there's data brokers that are just involved in auctions that for like when you load a web page and there's any kind of ad being wrote, right? That information is being gobbled up, and it's just like, oh, so the school is putting my son into this real-time tracking thing where anybody that has a little bit of money can pay for the location of wherever this child is based on what ads were sent to them. This is like it's like a Black Mirror. It's like a rabbit hole that never ends, and you just like don't even want to think about it. You're like this is just like too much is going on here. I don't want data brokers involved with my child. That's also involved with the UK government, the US government, the Chinese government, third party private industry that is doing this and then building AI models on it and also using AI models against my child. They were like outing like homosexual children who have different like they're not they have different what do I want to say attributes, I guess, right? They were outing children to like their parents, the schools, and the police force, like securely the specifically the one that was being used. And this company was sued in California for selling children's data. And it got thrown out of court finally after like a year or two because they said that children in school have no expectation of privacy. There is no expectation in California that children should ever have privacy. And that was the company that's doing all the what is it? It's a spyware company. Is this the one? Educational software company. They don't make educational software. They make spyware. Did they change it? They did change it. It used to say right on this page spyware. So they have cleansed the page, right? So there was a lawsuit, and that lawsuit finally did get thrown out because, like I said, they said that they were allegedly. That's it's always alleged because until you're found guilty. But the reason why it's thrown out is because they said the judge said that there was no children could not expect to have privacy. So my child, for one, I think children in California should expect to have privacy. That's crazy. But also, my child is not in California. You know, so when the data goes from the UK to California, whatever that data does in California happens in California, right? Um, Modern development. What is this? Oh, this is just class action. This isn't this specific lawsuit. Helps to prevent school shootings, right? All you need to do is know everything about the children, and then maybe you can prevent something. Securely services. So this has all been whitewashed here, but basically, the this plugin for Chrome it does screenshots of the system, and it also is key logging. It logs everything typed, everything read, and it does actual screenshots too. Right? So somebody needs to there needs to be a man in the loop or woman looking at this data for one, but also they're feeding it to AI too, which means an AI is deciding if your child has done something good or bad. Also, they're going to use that to train future versions of AI. Also, this is considered biometric data, which is illegal. Yeah. So this stuff is terrible, and Google has paid like so like Google taking children's data and selling children's data, right? Google has paid to keep lawsuits out of the actual court systems. So they've paid, what do you call this? You can settle at a court, right? They have settled by payment so that the case doesn't go to court, and it's like something like 1.5 billion in the last like decade over specifically over the Chromebooks, over the Google Classroom and stuff like that. Where are we at here? So like the what do you call that? It's not a settlement. It's a it's to keep it out. What do you call this? Capturing children's data. But they just keep paying it. You know, it's like a fine. It's no big deal. But these aren't even fines. Not from the government. No. This is not what I'm looking for. No, there's like 8. I love this. This is like the worst way to get information. You just like have no idea. This is 30 million 40. Texas settlement, not child specific. Okay, wait, do I have? Oh, hold on, I might have. This is gonna drive me crazy. I was looking into this so much before, it was just making me angry. Probably didn't put it here. It's probably in a text file. So, notable settlements involving Google and biometric data in the US. So, they don't really get sued outside of the US, but there's a 100 million settlement. Here's 65 million, another 100 million, 170 million. So, this is like 300, 400 million. It's half, you know, we're getting up there, $500 million. I think these are not settled, right? There's some government slaps, FTC fines, Australia. So the Google Analytics is specifically illegal in all European countries, but these countries have called Google out. Like even if the UK doesn't say it, it's already illegal. Like they don't need to make a law saying that I can't rob a bank. It's already illegal to rob a bank. It doesn't need to have a law saying that it's illegal for me to rob a bank now. You know what I mean? It's already implicitly illegal. But these countries had to explicitly say, hey, Google Analytics, it's illegal, right? So it is illegal in all of the EU and the UK because it doesn't conform to GDPR. They collect data that they do not and will not show you. It's shadow data, which is illegal. You can't have access to it. It's illegal. You can't have it deleted, which is also illegal. They're collecting without your consent. Again, it's illegal, you know. Just like I have more stuff than this, but it was like in another text file. This stuff was driving me crazy. But yeah, just so I mean the worst thing is the kids coming out of schools, they have this spyware device. They can't do anything with it, right? And it's not because it's a piece of junk Chromebook. Could be because yeah, a Chromebook is a piece of junk, but it doesn't matter. It like it doesn't matter that it's a piece of junk because if they give them a Raspberry Pi, that's you know right. It's not very strong. It's not very, but you could do amazing things with it. You can go crazy on it, right? But you're getting this Chromebook, and this Chromebook can do one thing. It can open the browser, that's configured the way they want it. You're not allowed to change anything about that. And you can go to websites that are, okay for Google, right? And that's it. So if you were to say you like to be an artist, the child likes to be an artist, usually the Chromebooks and the children have the Chromebooks, that's their only computing device. Some kids might have multiple, but not all kids are rich, and a lot of kids don't have computers anymore, or parents, because smartphones and things like that. So the laptop may be their only computing device. So let's say they want to draw, they like art, and they want to do some computer drawing. Well, you can't do any computer drawing on a Chromebook, but you could open the browser and go to a website. Yeah. Now, if you go to a website, that website is collecting data on you, right? Because it's not free. You're paying for it through your data. Also, any art that you make there is not owned by you now. It's owned by that website. So you don't own it. So you're just like, here's my child, and I'm just putting them in this weird legal thing, agreements with these other companies because they want to draw, right? If your kid likes sound, likes music, you can't use a DAW there. If they like 3D graphics, you can't use Blender, right? And it's nothing to do with the Chromebook is weak. You can't use Kdenlive. You can't, it's, yeah. You can't. The reason why you can't use any of these is because, one, it's the Google Chrome operating system, but two, it's not even the Google Chrome operating system. It's locked down where you're not allowed to do any of these things. You don't have access to anything. So you're giving children this device that they can't use for their schoolwork, and they cannot use for any extracurricular activity or personal stuff, right? So it's just e-waste that is just there to spy on them. Now, if you gave them something that was a super weak device that was similar to a Chromebook, but not a Chromebook, like I have a Chromebook that has Linux on it, has Arch Linux, that device, I can run Blender on it. I can run, like, it will be really slow, but like if you're a child and maybe you've never tried something, or an adult or whatever, and you've never tried something and you want to try a little drawing in Blender, you can launch it. And this is why my son has a MacBook that he has now, because he had an HP that we bought during the pandemic, and it's okay. It did what it did, but he started playing with Blender, and Blender's, can get pretty intensive pretty quick, right? But he was good at it. So he had this cheap system that it's weaker than those Chromebooks that they're using in the school now, and running Linux and doing its thing, and just having a good time in Blender, making stuff and everything else. And after a while, you can see, wow, his stuff that he's making is a little bit too big for this laptop now. It can't handle it anymore. But that's after he was doing it for like a year, right? So it means you can always try something on a crappy device. If you're doing it every day and you're really into it, then yeah, you can get a better device later. So all these kids that have these low end devices, there's no problem with them being low end. They can still you could do music editing, video editing, you can do modeling, you can do game development, you can do programming languages, and I don't mean programming languages, JavaScript and Scratch, and it's in the browser. I mean, you could do Python, Godot, Lua, Ruby, C, C++, Forth, COBOL, whatever, Haskell, you can do these all, right? And you don't even need this special, I'm using, this is just a terminal, right? I'm just looking at a terminal. It's not even a, right? This is just Alacrity terminal, and that's my editor. So I'm not downing them for like giving them a low end device. I think a low end device is good, because they might break it, and or maybe a secondhand device. All that's fine. But if they're using a system that they can actually use, like the kids in Brazil using Linux, that's amazing. Because for one, they have to learn how to use it. They might have, and they might be able to customize it, right? And you could just make them dual boot it too. Be like, here's the school one, boot into the school one so it's configured, and then on your own time, boot into another partition and go wild or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, that's so driving me crazy, because it's like, here's this e-waste. It's literally there to spy on you, on your child. That's Google's end game, was to go through the schools to get at the children's data. And the children get no benefit whatsoever for it. They can't do anything with it. And the old Chromebooks, you could change the bootloader and you could install Linux on them. Not the new ones. They fixed that. The new ones, it's just straight e-waste. You can't do anything with it. It's a Google Chromebook, nothing else. The ARM-based ones. And again, I'm not even downing ARM-based systems either, because ARM-based systems is like they might not be as amazing in Linux and stuff like that, or other operating systems, because the support may or may not be there. But they're more energy efficient. You may not need fans. The battery may last a lot longer. And again, you can do everything on one of those, but it may not do it good. But if you see that your child is doing something over and over again, and you see, well, the thing they're doing is a little bit chunky or a little bit slow on the system they're using, then you can invest later on into a nicer system. But until then, it still works on the worst system, like on the lower end. Yeah, I think it should be though. Like I just think, like, for one, you don't have to agree to it. Like when you if you have Windows, right? You have to agree to a licensing agreement. And I think that should be absolutely illegal anyway. I don't want to agree to. Why do I have to agree to something in Microsoft to use the operating system? I shouldn't have to agree to anything. But how the hell is my child agreeing to something? They're in some kind of legally binding agreement with Microsoft, and now they're required to have an online account. So it has to be an online account with Microsoft, and they have that TPM2 chip, which is a tracking chip. The TPM2 module connects to the what do you call it? The Microsoft servers, and it makes sure that they know exactly who you are with all the software that's running. So it's like, just to be sure, no matter what you do with your operating system, we know it's you. It's locked down, and that, like, you don't need any of that. I think the children shouldn't even be online, just because that's a huge attack surface. The school itself should have its internal stuff that it needs to do. The kids can use their laptops and connect to internal network that has like a shared folder or whatever, that folder that they need to use, their own private folder. I mean, and that should be it, right? At home, you can do whatever because you're with your parents, and they can make those decisions. The schools, they shouldn't be putting you just bare online. The teacher may be or expose or download, you know what I mean? But like, that's not, they don't need to be making agreements on that. They should be classes on how to be safe and all that stuff. But like, the school should not be putting children's machines online. It should be local. They go home, they do whatever they want as per their what they know and what their parents know and stuff like that. But also the school should be like trying to give them like, hey, here's a device. Now here's the 100 different things you can do with this device. Because just because the school may not have funding to teach everything in the school, they should at least give some information. Like, if you like to do these things or this thing, you can do these with your machine. Because different people have different interests. And although everybody needs to learn, English and math and history and stuff like that, other people may have interests that are different. They may want to be a writer or a drawer or make short videos or long videos or movies or documentaries or whatever. And they can do it on these devices, like with some FOSS software. And the reason why I say FOSS software is because, again, the child and the parent don't need to pay any money for that software. And they don't need to enter into an agreement, into any legally binding agreement. They don't need to sign some end user license, to any of this. Yeah, I was just talking about earlier. I'm not sure if you heard it earlier, but I was talking about the Oxford schools, like knowingly abusing the children. Just all of the schools doing it, and through biometric data capture and through data capture and sharing it with like different foreign governments, adversarial governments, and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm not trying to be like, I do think they should do pen and paper too, but I'm not trying to be anti what do you call this, like anti technology. I'm saying they should use technology correctly. They should say these children should not be, they should not be making agreements with private companies on how their data is being, that you don't need to do that. There is a FOSS alternative. Nobody's collecting any data on your child. They want to use the program. They don't need to pay anybody. They don't need to make agreement. It runs locally, and that's it. It's fine. It's good enough. But also when they do that, they're going to learn a lot more. They're going to be smarter at the end of it because they're going to have to figure out how to get it to work and try different things and experiment and stuff like that. No, I was talking about the UK. I was talking about Oxford, England. The if you go back in the video, we're talking about the Cheney School in Oxford. But it's all of the Oxford schools are doing it, and the dude that what's his name, and the illegal biometric data capture in England and for the children, and the River Learning Trust that is the overarching Chromebook pusher to all the. They're the ones that actually control the Chromebooks. So like the person who has actual access to the software on the Chromebook that I have is this River Learning Trust. I don't have rights on it. My son doesn't have rights on it. They have rights on it. Yeah, there was the we were talking about some of the countries were stepping up and understanding that all of this is supposed to be illegal. There was Denmark, that was, but it is illegal everywhere. It's illegal everywhere in the EU. Sorry, not everywhere, but if you're in where'd you say Netherlands? Yeah, if you're in the Netherlands, this is illegal in the Netherlands. So like Google Classroom is illegal. Google Workspace, Google Analytics that runs the entire Google ecosystem is illegal in the Netherlands, right? Facebook is also illegal. Microsoft, everything Microsoft's doing is illegal. But it's like, are they going to enforce it? If they are, if your government is also sucking up that same data, they may or may not enforce any laws. But it is illegal according to GDPR and a bunch of other laws. I don't. I'm not saying everything. I mean specifically Google Analytics. The data collection without there's different things. So it's illegal to collect data and send it to a foreign country, right? On children. That's in GDPR. It's illegal to collect data on children with that goes outside of the school without the child's consent, without the parents' consent, without the guardians, without both guardians. There can't be a guardian that's in a disagreement. And the child has to be at least 13, and the child has to agree. Sorry, the child can be the sole person who agrees, but children under 13 can disagree, right? So I'm not making like some broad statement. I'm just saying GDPR alone specifically has a bunch of things. In the UK, I don't know about the EU, but in the UK, there is a different law about it's illegal to collect biometric data on children. Specifically, schools are not allowed, and this is a specific law in the UK on children in schools, and the schools are doing it anyway. Anyway, that was just me ranting forever. That stuff drove me crazy. I mean, it's still happening, it still bothers me, but like I try not to think about it. But yeah, we had he had to go to a school for a year that was like requiring him to have a Chromebook, and it was just not happening. I wasn't sending him there with that Chromebook. Yeah, there's a form that you have to sign for facial recognition. So here's the thing, where is it? So this is a BBC article specifically talking about the ICO, which is part of the UK government, telling the schools that yes, in fact, it is still illegal to capture children's facial recognition, but they're doing it anyway. So these things is like, it is illegal. It's known. It's specifically illegal. but also nobody is doing any action on it, right? And it's this thing specifically I had with the school. Like, I had to tell them that I don't agree with it. I did never sign the agreement that you have to sign. I didn't sign it and said we didn't agree, and they did it anyway. And after after I brought this up again that they were doing it, they denied that they were doing it. They quietly said they were stopped doing it, but they were still doing it. So, so they did that the entire time. So for a year that he was in school, they were collecting his biometric data, and they were constantly doing stuff like this. And when you talk to the teachers, they'll initially act a little bit shocked, but then they just do not care. And I think if a teacher is willingly abusing children, they shouldn't be allowed to be near children again, or in a school or anything like that. But I'm gonna cut out now. So yeah. It bothers me a lot. Anyway, I gotta head out now though. So you guys have a good one and have a good day. See you next time.